Hello everyone, this is day 2 of the Stempedia Bootcamp. Today's task is to develop a game in which a beetle tries to reach an apple at the end of the maze without touching the boundaries. So let's start the programming. I'm using the Python interface of the PictoBlocks, and the sprite I'm using is Beetle, which I have selected from the sprite library here. Also, I have selected the background in the form of a maze, which I have selected from the backdrop library. Now I have done certain modifications here, like I have reduced the size of the beetle to 50. Originally it was 100, which is very large for our stage and its boundaries, so I have reduced it to 50. Also, I want the beetle to face upward when we start the game, and it should start from here, which is the start position. So to ensure that, there are 3 instructions which I mentioned here. First one is sprite.set direction 0 angle, that means the sprite will face upward. Second instruction is sprite.set size, which reduces its size to 50. Sprite.go to xy, I have set this to this position, which is minus 150 and minus 150. Okay, once the stage is all set, let's control the movement of the beetle, and for this I'm using the sprite move and the set direction functions. Here I will use a while loop and certain if conditions. So let's start the coding. If sprite dot is key pressed up arrow, that means if we are pressing the upward arrow from the keyboard, it will set the direction of the sprite in the upward direction, and the sprite moves 5 steps. It can move any number of steps, but I have chosen the number of steps to be 5. In the next if command, I am instructing the sprite to go down with the down arrow key. So here sprite.set direction, the angle will be 180 degree, and the sprite will move 5 steps. In the next command, if sprite dot is key pressed left arrow, then the sprite will move in the left direction, that is a 90 degree move, and it will again take 5 steps. In the next command, if the sprite is pressed a right arrow, then the sprite will set direction 90 degree towards the right, that is it will move in the right direction, and it will again move 5 steps. So using the arrow keys from the keyboard, we can control the movement of the sprite in the 4 directions. Okay, to make things interesting, we have introduced another feature, that is if the beetle touches the walls of this maze, it will return back to its initial position. Now, how can we codify it? For this, we are going to use the command is touching color. Since you can see that inside the stage, the boundary walls, they are made up of black color. So the instruction goes like this: if sprite dot is touching color 000, which is the RGB code value for black color, then the sprite will go back to its initial position and its direction will be upward facing. And the last step, if the sprite is touching color red, which is the color of the apple, then the game will be over. How can we write this in a code? So again, we are using the color touch option. So I'll write like this: if sprite dot is touching color and the RGB code for the red color is 255, 0, 0. Then the sprite will say game over, and by this our loop will break and the game will end. So this is the code for this game. Let's run and see whether the code is working or not. So I'm going to move this Beetle. I'm deliberately touching it to the black color of the wall boundary. As you can see, it returned back to its initial position. So that means our code is working fine. Now let's try to reach the apple. So I'm using the arrow keys from the keyboard to control the movement. So far our code is working fine, and the Beetle is slowly approaching towards its goal, and we are very close. Okay, we are in the final stage. Okay, it's game over. As soon as the Beetle touches the apple, which is of red color, sprite says game over. So this is today's game. Thank you.